Alrighty, we are in episode 4 of season 3 of Sanditon. We will have it between the 15 to the 30-minute mark for this episode in the second part review. A little life update. I don't know if any of you guys love to plant vegetables or flowers or fruits or any kind. Last summer, me and my dad started this hobby together, and we did cherry tomato, plum tomato, and green peppers. The cherry tomatoes in the second half of the summer, it started to break. It was horrible. So hopefully we have a better chance this season, this summer, with the cherry tomatoes, red hot peppers, and basil. And we just planted them today. So fingers crossed. Anyway, we should continue with episode 4. We left off when Ralph came back to Sanditon, right? That was a shocking moment, and it was a shocking moment for Charlotte as well. She's like, oh boy. It adds to the drama, with his appearance back in Sanditon. The next scene, we see Augusta still disappointed, very sad, a bit depressed about her situation with Edward. I love the relationship building between Leonora and her uncle Samuel. This uncle is like the fun uncle, I don't know about you, but I have so many uncles, and some of them are more fun than the others. So it's nice to see that relationship blossoming between Leonora and Samuel. It was just a pure, innocent moment for these two characters, and they tried their best to cheer Augusta up, and I thought that was very sweet and funny at the same time when Samuel gave her that signal, clap your hands, pretending that they on the stage in the theater.
Your father's been quite lost with neither you or Alison there for the harvest. But there's much excitement about our wedding. Your mother started decorating the church.
Those background details of, what's going on back in Wellington. Once again, me as a viewer watching this story unfold, I'm just she's wasting her time. And I feel bad for Ralph at the same time, even though I'm not Team Ralph, but it, common sense, you are torturing this guy, and I think he doesn't deserve the way that Charlotte has been treating him.
I'd meant to come home sooner, but I was concerned for Georgiana.
But now you're ready to return.
Charlotte is lying to herself. She is lying to Ralph. She keeps using Georgiana as a reason, as a excuse to stay in Sanditon longer than she should be staying.
There's a party tonight to celebrate her victory. I'd like to be there for her.
You can see the disappointment on Ralph's face. He's like, oh man, another night, we can go home today. And to me, it shows that he's really not into that city life. He fit in much better with the farming lifestyle, that deep town country life. He's just not seeing himself. He's not interested that much to explore more of Sanditon or even visit Sanditon as a vacation. He's very determined. He is on that mission to grab Charlotte and go home on the same day.
One more night, Ralph. Then we'll leave, I promise.
If that is what you want.
I was also thinking that Ralph is a stupid guy. I think he sensed that there's something going on with Charlotte. I think he doesn't want to face the truth or confront her just yet. And if he keeps telling her whatever you want to do, I will follow you. And I'm like, dude, you need to man up and being honest with her. Because if you don't step in and tell her, like, you know, we need to go home, like, right now, she's not gonna go back to Willenden soon enough. She's gonna keep delay and delay. You know what I mean? I just feel like he's just one of those guys that, I don't know what to call it. It's just like one of those unconfident guy, you know what I mean? He's just like, you know, he's like the tail of the woman. He just like follow, you know, his lady around, like whatever she wanted to do. And I'm like, you have no idea what Chella is up to.
Even now, my lady, there's a fever sweeping through the old town. There are children who are dangerously sick.
Well, if the state of their dwelling breeds illness, then why would they wish to remain there?
We have a duty to help them, not to force them from their home.
In a way, it's like a form of attack. She confronted her husband in front of Mr. Price and Alexander, and now she thinks, okay, if I talk to Lady Denham, maybe she would talk some sense into Mr. Price and her husband, Tom Parker. Mary is not giving up. She is very bold.
Mrs. Parker?
You have Mr. Price's ear.
Mr. Parker? As pleased as I am that you have finally found your voice, I would rather you didn't use it against me or my business affairs.
Like Lady Denham said, Mary found her voice. She never speak out loud freely about her opinions, her thoughts on important matters that are going on around Sanditon. And here we are listening to Mary speaking up and a little bit, you know, raising her voice and trying to convince Lady Denham to be on her side. It's very different to see Mary in this stage, in this mode, compared to season 1.
And I venture that Mr. Price and your husband would feel the same. Ah, the very man.
Morning, milady. Mrs. Parker.
Good morning.
I was thinking, though, why Mary left them, maybe out of respect, but I think that look on her face, Mary remembered what happened a lot of times. She talked with Mr. Price at the shooting party. She scolded her husband in front of Alexander and Mr. Price, and of course, if possible, she felt embarrassed by that at the same time.
Someone sent me a bouquet of thistles.
They put me in mind of you. Elegant, but prickly.
You old fool.
He is something else. I love his sense of humor. He's like, I picked those flowers, that type of flower, because they remind him of her. Elegant, but prickly at the same time. He was very bold, very honest in describing her. Like, he literally told her what he thinks of her, personality-wise.
Old? Me? But we are of an age.
Oh, Poppycock, I'm 8 years younger than you.
You didn't used to be.
Oh, be quiet.
And she doesn't really take that the wrong way. He is very, very honest with her, and she seemed to like his honesty. By Georgiana's reaction in the next scene, those must have been letters from different men, another group of fortune hunters trying to get her attention. It getting to her nerves to the point she asked Samuel to come visit her.
You sent for me, Miss Lamb?
I assume you read the newspapers,
Yes.
so you will know how they continue to gossip and speculate about me.
I forgot to mention, when he stepped into the room, he was very fascinated by the beauty of the room. He's like, wow, she lives like in the palace or something. But it was nice of him to respond to her invite to come over and talk about the effects of the trial. Even though she won, she is still going through the stress and the massive attention that is unnecessary. Is starting to stress her out.
They will move on to someone else soon enough. Although, and I say this without judgment, if you don't wish to be gossiped about, you might keep a rather lower profile.
You will tell them to desist or face the consequences.
What Samuel recommended, there is no way for Georgiana to maintain a much more private life, especially with all the parties she had been going to and hanging out with a lot of people, Harry's friends, her reputation, her popularity. That would be hard for her to reduce that and become a much more private person.
I'm afraid the law has little sway when it comes to the press.
Here is today's post. A letter from a man who claims to be my third cousin. One from a woman who is supposedly my half-sister.
Georgiana, she thinks that Samuel can help her with this matter, but like he said, his horizon is limited when it comes to the press. Thinking like how this is so relatable to today's time, especially with the royal family of England. If you know, you know.
I thought defeating Lockhart would prove a deterrent.
I am sorry, Miss Lamb. But as an unmarried woman, you find yourself in a vulnerable position. Don't forget, Lockhart came dangerously close to winning.
She thought that winning against Lockhart in court will seal the deal, seal her fate for the future, her future. But unfortunately, there are side effects, there are consequences, and she is experiencing them right now. On top of these claims that from people that trying to say that they are related to her, on top of those, she is getting attention and letters from single men that trying to get her attention, to get her to be interested in them in marriage. She just wants to be single, independent, and enjoy her life, her fortune, celebrate the victory. But these dramas are consuming her, stressing her out to the point that she asked Samuel for help, and Samuel really can't do much.
I asked you here to help me, not to give me cold comfort.
And I will help in any way I can. But I must be honest.
I love Samuel's honesty. As a lawyer, that's very important, but as a friend, he is trying to be her friend at the same time in this scene. He wanted to be honest with her. He say as it is. He made a good point, like the only way, really the only solution to the problem is if she get married to a man. And that's something that she is not interested right now. She doesn't want to focus her time and energy on finding a husband. We don't know about, where she stands with Otis, Is she going to give up on him and find a different man? Or Otis will come back into her life later this season? Her love life is not the most important thing right now, other than, that fake relationship with Harry. But like Charlotte said, that's not real love. And to me, Georgiana really doesn't want to find true love. She just wants to find an easy solution, a business type relationship, business marriage relationship, just to secure her position and her identity as a rich woman.
The only way these claims will cease is if you either give up your fortune or find a husband.
There is no way she would give up her fortune, so the only solution is to get married. And Samuel, meant well. He wanted to be honest with her and just let her know, and he's still willing to help her, any way that he can, but it all comes down to whether Georgiana wants to get married or not. And to this point, I would say that Georgiana has no other choice, and she does need to find a man to marry, and the easy one is Harry. But Harry and Georgiana, they're not really in love, and there's that other factor in the equation, which is Arthur, and that would be an interesting triangle situation in the second half of the season. The next scene is Harry and Augusta walking along the cliff and talking about that big conversation that they had at the shooting party. Harry, he freaked out after that conversation at the shooting party because he thought that he made a huge mistake of being vulnerable and honest to Arthur about his preference in men. But however, Arthur, he didn't mind that. He was just very shocked, and he didn't expect it to hear that coming from Harry. Just because, Harry stepped into season 3 of the show, that we are seeing this happen with Arthur in Arthur Love Life, and he admitted to Harry, like, I never experienced this before. I never hear a man confess his feelings or his relationship preferences to me out loud like that. He was very uncomfortable in that moment when Harry told him about how he likes men. It was very, whirlwind, and it was just like consuming Arthur so much to the point where he was speechless and didn't know what to say. And this conversation was Arthur's opportunity to talk, and Harry listened. Harry ignited something in Arthur that he had been hiding for a long time. And now Arthur start to be a little bit more confident and very open about it. Where Harry, in this conversation, it's like a flower, blooming, it starts to open up, but it stopped halfway. And that's how Arthur's feeling right now. He's like, why? My family, my friends, he's not confident in himself, and not confident to be himself, the truest form of himself to other people around him. And Harry's like, oh, they might be okay with, with your preference. And I'm like, well, Harry mom doesn't like how Harry likes men. It's just that personal battle that Arthur is going through, and he has no one to talk about it except for Harry, until now, season 3. Then Harry technically invited Arthur for a getaway, for an escape from Sanditon, this opportunity for the two of them to get to know each other more and to be the true selves, and just not be ashamed of liking each other, with no one around, with no one judging them, or with no one complaining about them. It's like a safe house, the safe house for Adrian, but a safe house for these two. And Arthur agreed to that plan, and then at the end of the scene, they officially confessed to each other their feelings for one another. And Arthur felt brave after that. It felt good for him. It felt good for Harry too, because he thought, Arthur doesn't like him back. Edward, he is not happy that there is no new letter from Augusta, so that means that she had been held hostage within the walls of the house, and she cannot leave the house without a chaperone. Leonora, she still had that freedom to play outside, and he is taking advantage of her to do this secret mission. This is not good. Georgiana, in public, the attention, the drama, the gossip, the stress is getting to her once again. She feels it very heavy in this scene. Harry mom to the rescue. I thought it was nice of her to do that, to accompany Georgiana, and just to not make it look even worse in front of those other people.
I should not have let it get to me.
Well, no one likes to be the subject of scandal and gossip. I've had my share. Although a title is a shield against the worst of it.
Lady Monroe, she does have similar experiences that Georgiana is going through right now. I didn't even think of that until she mentioned it in this scene. A private conversation between Georgiana and Lady Monroe. I think the pressure is high, because if Georgiana wants to marry Harry, this woman that she's talking to right now could be her future mother-in-law.
One need only look at Lady de Clermont, who would be a pariah were it not for the sole virtue of her status.
Technically, Lady Monroe's gossip about Lady Susan, I was thinking like she shouldn't have brought up the name of Lady Susan, but also at the same time, I sense like there's something going on between Lady Monroe and Lady Susan. They just seem to have that disagreement, that spirit of just like they just don't like each other for some reason.
You must excuse me. Lady Lydia and I are due at Hayrick Park. Courage, my dear.
Then Lady Monroe's mentioned about Hayrick Park and that reaction on Georgiana's face. She's like, oh man, she's thinking of Charlotte. She's like, oh, poor Charlotte. She's stuck with Ralph, and here comes Lydia going to Alexander's house. But poor Lady Monroe is super happy. She thinks that Lydia will end up with the handsome and rich Alexander Heybourne. But at the same time, this was a nice conversation, just letting Georgiana know that she is not alone. She is not the only one that went through this type of situation. She definitely caught the hand touching between the two men, and this part confirmed to us that she knows about Harry's love life, what he likes, his preferences, and she is totally against it. Leonora just won the Best Husband-Sister Award of the year. I mean, that was very nice of her. She knows that her father hates, dislike Edward strongly. But she feels for Augusta. She feels bad for her. And she just wants to support Augusta. So she's just like, okay, I will do this one thing for Edward and pass the letter to Augusta. And Augusta appreciates it very much, especially with the hug to Leonora. So the mission is successful for Edward.
I can't believe you'd stoop to using a child as your messenger.
Oh, forgive me. When you didn't return my letter, I was at a loss.
In fairness, she's a very efficient little spy.
She got the opportunity to escape from the house for a bit to talk to Edward in person. I mean, this would have been really romantic if the guy was, like, close to her age. But Edward, you're too old for her.
She tells me that your uncle has you, locked up.
He claims he is trying to protect me from you.
I cannot blame him. If I were in his position...
How can you defend him?
Augusta is so against her uncle right now and just not agreeable with Alexander's parenting decision lately. And Edward was very honest and nice about what he said, like, oh, I don't blame your uncle. And I'm like, where's that coming from? Because he's the type of guy that will act so innocent and lovely and easily persuade someone to convince them that he is a nice guy. And Augusta, like, no, like, you should blame him. He's the obstacle that keeping us apart.
He doesn't know the truth. That my intentions are entirely honorable. That if I could, I would ask for your hand this very minute.
Now, this is the Edward that we all know. You know, act so innocent and romantic, and I'm like, don't fall for his trap. It definitely got Augusta heart to flutter with butterflies once again. She was flattered by his pre-proposal question.
What's to stop you?
He would never give his blessing.
at the same time, he's like pressuring her, like forcing her to like speed this up, like to make it to get them married quickly. And I'm like, that's gonna make Alexander even more mad than he already is right now.
The only way that we could be together is if we were somehow to escape.
This sounds like a breakup. At the same time, Augusta is helpless. She's like, okay, how am I going to escape the house and get on a horse or on a carriage and meet him and get eloped? I mean, this is stressful, you know, because she's like, how can I do this? How can I marry the guy with no one knowing?
However much I yearn to be with you, I could never be so selfish. Your happiness and your honor are all that matter to me.
Edward did the right thing. Like, he truly did the right thing, and I was like, I'm so proud of him. Just like the only proud moment that I have about him in this entire show ever in the history of this show. So he did the right move.
So, my dearest Augusta, I fear I must bid you farewell.
First love, first boyfriend, first breakup, first mistake that she could do in the relationship. You know, it's a huge mistake of going after Edward.
Wait!
She was very tempted to make this work and to not give up on him and to not give up on her relationship with him. Unfortunately, she fell for him really hard to the point that she doesn't want to be apart from him.
This fever is merciless. Poor little Dora Filkins is gravely ill. I've asked Dr. Fuchs to do what he can, but there's no doubt their living conditions have played a part.
That's why this proposal could not be more timely or more vital.
Do you think so?
Mary wants people to hear her out. She's looking for supporters. She is telling Charlotte and Ralph about what's going on in the old town, and they seem to be listening to her.
My only thought...
Go on, my dear.
Young Tess has such a hunger to learn. It made me think, might there also be merit in building a school?
What a wonderful idea.
This is a really interesting storyline. We just learning about Mary and her helping her community, giving back to the community, but this is becoming a much more storyline than we anticipated. She is getting much more involved in the business side of it, a little bit of politics at the same time in this situation, because, you know, politics, we always talk about the rich class and the poor class, right? And the poor class needs help. They need more money, they need more structure, they need better living conditions. And that's what Mary is trying to vouch for. She's trying to support the old town and help them in the time of the need. There's a bad sickness, virus going on around the old town. In Charlotte, she is about to talk about education. That's another huge conflict within the old town, especially that type of class of people.
We could offer an education to all the local children, boys and girls.
We, Charlotte? God willing, you'll be busy teaching our own children.
Of course.
I've arranged a call on Mr. Colburn this afternoon to discuss my plans.
Boys and girls, I love that. Equality, that's how it should be. Ralph, he jumped in, he's like, what about our future kids? Yo, that reaction from Charlotte, like, of course. She didn't look too happy, and I'm like, girl, you don't want to marry Ralph, you should tell him right now. And here comes, like, almost the full circle moment. I talked a couple of times about Charlotte and when she visited the old town with Mary and Mr. Filkins, her daughter Tess, like, she wanted to learn how to read, and she was sad that Charlotte is leaving. Charlotte couldn't teach her how to read, and Mary jumped in like, oh, I can teach you. You know, you have me to teach you to learn how to read and understand the words. So that like ignited something in Charlotte's heart and mind, like, okay, maybe there's something that we can do to improve education for these children in the old town.
I don't suppose... Would you accompany me, Charlotte? You could tell him about your school idea.
It would hardly be fair to leave Ralph on his own.
Ralph could come with us. I'm sure Mr. Colburn wouldn't mind.
Another great opportunity of rising up for Charlotte to run into Mr. Heybourne, but she is trying to avoid him at the moment. But I'm like, girl, you know you want to see Mr. Heybourne once again before you head back to Willingdon for the rest of your life. Mary, she needs support. She knows that Charlotte supports her all the way, and it would be encouraging and comforting for Mary to have Charlotte there to support her as she discusses her plans to Alexander.
I would love to see Herrick Park and to make a proper acquaintance of your former employer.
Honestly, Mary, your proposal speaks for itself. You have no need of our company.
Oh boy, Ralph's coming along. Not the greatest idea. Especially we know the history between Charlotte and Alexander. He has no idea just yet of Ralph. And Charlotte, of course, she's trying to separate the two men. She felt that awkwardness, the intensity when she was with the both of them at Georgiana's birthday party in episode 1 of this season, if you remember. She's like, yeah, I'm not having these two men in the same room once again.
Oh, I'd be glad of it all the same. For moral support.
Then it's decided. We shall all pay a visit to Mr. Colburn this afternoon.
That was like the only time that I remember that Ralph like made a firm decision for him and Charlotte. He's like, let's go to Herrick Park, and Charlotte like, no, please no. It's like going back into her past, and she's like, here we go again. She still has those feelings, those icky feelings for Alexander, because one, he revealed to her at the end of episode 3, it's like, I'm still in love with you, and Charlotte like made that dramatic exit, and she doesn't want to run into him again. She doesn't want to talk to him. She's trying to avoid him and her feelings for him. And having Ralph, you know, mix into the equation, it's not gonna come with the right answer, you know. It's just, she's just still in that conflict bubble. She's like, Ralph or Alexander?
You do not know what you ask.
I know fine well. I am asking you to rescue me.
Where would we go?
Anywhere.
In season 2, Augusta had some big storylines. One was that she had to be prepared to be a lady when she introduced herself to society. The other one was her relationship with her uncle. She always felt that she was a captive, like she was held as a hostage in her uncle's house. Like she didn't have much freedom, and that's where this scene is coming from. She's like, rescue me, like take me anywhere. She's dying to just get out of her uncle's house and to be on her free terms with whoever man that she wanted to be with.
It's not as if anyone here will miss me. Besides Leo.
In all conscience, I cannot.
Alexander would definitely miss Augusta, even though he strongly disliked her recent decision in regard to her love life. Poor Leo will also miss her. She is thinking too fast. She is not thinking this clearly. It's just one of those situations where you just like, you know, head on, like just do it without even like thinking twice about it.
You are the only person I love in this world. And if it's not a presumption, the only person that cares a damn about me?
It's not a presumption at all.
she deserved a better love. This is like fake love, you know. But at the same time, she deserved Edward because she decided, you know, on her own terms that she wanted to be with him.
Is it not remarkable to think that we have found each other? And yet fate has dealt us the cruelest of hands.
It is fate that has brought us together.
Augusta is wrong. Edward is wrong. Edward is the universe, the fate that brought them together, because Miss Hankin told Edward about Augusta and Augusta money, and that motivated him to chase after Augusta for her money. Wrong intention. This is not fate hauling. This is Edward hauling to make this happen in his own way, in his own plans, the way that he wanted to happen.
But it is my uncle that keeps us apart.
You must return to the house before he comes looking for you.
When will I see you again?
Will you attend Miss Lamb's party?
Augusta and Alexander relationship is definitely a roller coaster ride. Between season 2 and 3, it's just not the greatest. Leo, Noah, and Alexander seem to have a better relationship in season 3. Augusta, she's like, you know, at that age, like teenage attitudes, thinking that she knows what's best for herself, but she doesn't listen to the older people in her life, her uncle Alexander. In Charlotte, like, she tried to get advice from Charlotte too, but Charlotte would be against it too.
Yes, but under his ever-watchful eye.
Well, it doesn't matter. Even if we cannot speak to each other, it will be enough to see your face one last time.
Miss Lamb party. It's interesting though. Georgiana party is like bringing everyone together, and then like everyone has like their own situation going on in their personal life. Charlie gonna run into Alexander probably at Georgiana party, ignited that passion once again. And Edward and Augusta is using Georgiana party to see each other one last time, even though they might not be close to each other or even not even talk one word.
One last time.
How can I bear to be near you knowing that we can never be together? I am resolved to leave Sanditon.
Edward finally made the decision to leave Sanditon. On the other hand though, I think Lady Denham wouldn't allow him to leave Sanditon until he finishes her program. But I think he did that just to pressure Augusta even more, try to motivate her, convince her to chase him harder. I think he's saying those words to persuade Augusta to do something about this situation and to make it happen that they can be together. Like, she had to leave Sanditon, you know, to make this relationship work. And she's just a kid, you know, and this is her first relationship, and Edward is somewhat like testing her, like, I'm leaving Sanditon. Like, are you willing to leave with me? Like, can you make that happen?